Welcome back into Honda Classic Live on ESPN 106.3. My name is Jerry Hamilton. Great to be with you guys as always. We're going to go right back to the phones. It's time for the sports professor, Rick Horrow. Rick, a little trivia. Who is Stetson's mascot and what is it?
It's a hat.
The Hatters.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. That's one of the things that I'm going to do today. I'm going to kind of cover it for some Fox stuff that I'm doing. Small college football. They're playing Davidson, and it is small college football. Good thing is it's at noon, and 3-hour drive back, and get to watch the games tonight, which matter. But I will get paraphernalia. Do you want a Stetson hat? Is there one on XXXXX that you fit on your head? See what happens.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Bring that back to me. I will wear that on the golf course for sure. So, where do we start this week? Myles Garrett. What happened to him? What's the potential, not the suspension, not the other stuff, but what's the potential financial fallout for Myles Garrett? Because you're talking about a number one pick of the draft and a guy who, Rick, we've never talked about Myles Garrett. We had him in the Under Armour All-America game. This was unbelievably out of character for this guy. But what could you see the fallout being from a sponsorship and financial for him?
A lot will depend on how he rehabilitates his image, and really he has time to do it. There's no denying the incident. It happened in front of a national television audience, and so, yeah, everybody I've talked to says it's totally out of character. I wrote the first thesis, I don't know if that's good or bad, at Harvard Law on excessive violence on the field, and the whole issue is this crosses every line, and then the question is it prosecutable, and politically are they going to get in the middle of that? So that's got to die down first, and there's a real thought that a district attorney who's pretty zealous and politically motivated might take it on. Now, assuming that doesn't happen, then he's got to worry about using his PR skills to prove exactly what you just said, that this is a one-off, this is out of character, and that he's going to be repentant. But, if he doesn't do any of that, then this is going to affect him significantly. If he does do that, it'll affect him, but maybe not as much.
And staying on the NFL, Colin Kaepernick today. What, not the workout, but what do teams really have to consider with all that's gone on with Colin Kaepernick? What is more than just on the surface if a team was to sign him and all the considerations for a franchise, for a team, from your perspective?
I can't get my hands around this one yet. We'll have to see, because half the media I did this week absolutely thought it was a Rock Nation conspiracy, that's his agency, to make sure that the pressure is on somebody and shaming them into signing him, whether he's qualified or not. The other half say it's Nike, who kind of put it all together and said, let's do it. And so the bottom line, I think, from the off-the-field perspective is, the guy is still relevant. He's the organizer of what became a very successful movement that caused the NFL to provide some significant dollars to social justice issues, and will continue to do that. So that legacy is safe. It's not out of sight, out of mind. It's not as big as it was a couple of years ago, but he inspired the movement. But then on the field, the real question is, he's been out of football 3 years. Can he play? If he's signed to sit on the bench, if he's signed to then be cut or put on a taxi squad, I don't think it helps anybody in any context. And just because you got a big name doesn't mean you're going to play well. On the other hand, he played well for the Niners. He's still got the ability to do the run, the RPO stuff. But no, I guess that's what the workout's going to tell us. So the chicken answer would be, check in a week and see who, if anybody, signs him, and then if they do, it's pressure on not only him, but maybe even more on them.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow joining Honda Classic Live. So college basketball's underway. And we've had the one-and-done rule since 2006, and the last few years I've called it the one-and-almost-done rule because it's going away. And you wrote about that and sent that to me this week. What are your thoughts on the one-and-done going away? And from a financial standpoint with these guys, obviously, this is all going to tie into the likeness with college sports. Everything's going to be tied in. But first, what are your thoughts on the one and done rule going away?
Well, that's the point, that it's tied into everything else. And you can't just eliminate it, but because, remember, the colleges aren't the one to do that. It's the collective bargaining agreement with the Players Association and the players, and what happens to 18-year-olds. Are they able to play in the NBA or not? If they do, then that's an entirely different situation. And so you can't just eliminate it without alternative to players, or you're going to have not just the Ball family going to Australia, you'll have everybody going to Europe and otherwise. You got to buttress and support and strengthen the G League, which means throwing a lot more money into that league, using it as a developmental league, as an alternative to college. And so I'm not sure what's going to happen yet, but I would say it has to be a comprehensive package. And then, as you said, over the next year, until the endorsement dollar situation gets corrected and done right, you're going to have that added onto it as well. So, the one-and-done enticement, does Kentucky, I'm making this up because I don't think and I don't know anything more, but is Kentucky going to be able to offer a certain amount more money either because a bigger endorsement cut, or they know that you're going to get more endorsements by going to Kentucky? Does that mean that they can lure players and maybe for a one-year deal, knowing that they're still going to go, but they get a year of endorsements under their belt as a star in college? So you can't divorce the issues. They all have to be done together.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow joining Honda Classic Live. So we're past the halfway point of the 2019-2020 NFL season, and we'll get your Dolphins pick here at the end of the segment. But so Fox expects Super Bowl 54 ad pricing to set a record. That sounds amazing right off the bat. Go into that a little bit and kind of what do you expect?
Well, it's going to be over $5 million because that's the 30-second standard from last year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And I expect it. Remember, the first Super Bowl was simultaneously televised on NBC and CBS, two networks at the same time, and the ads were $40,000, even something we can afford. We've come a long way. And the bottom line is this, that the game is more popular, but now, for the first time in history, you have the measurement that says that the viewing on devices has crossed, meaning even increased, more than the viewing on TV. So what that means is, for the first time, we have the ability to measure everybody watching, not just this discussion of television households, because that's not really relevant anymore. Young people are watching devices, and nobody knew how to measure it. So a lot of it is because of the popularity of the NFL, and a lot more of it is because we've gotten more sophisticated knowing how to measure.
And obviously with the Super Bowl being in Miami this year, and I'm sure you'll be there, and I'm sure I'll see you on TV somewhere. What do you think?
Yes, sir.
What do you think it means? I don't know if you can put it into a certain number, but what do you think it means financially for Miami and South Florida?
Well, the story we need to tell to everybody is the unsung hero. I'm not a Steve Ross apologist. I'm a friend, and I know what he's done. And, that $500 million basically out of his pocket on a relative basis, very little support from the public sector. I can say that. I'm an expert in how these deals are done. And the, Marlins deal poisoned the appetite that should have occurred from the public sector because Super Bowls in economic impact, and everybody talks about the numbers and the economists try to dissect it to the point where everybody gets bored. The reality is people come into town, they spent more than a week. We're going to have significant celebrations, by the way, up in Palm Beach County, announced beginning of mid-December, the Gainbridge LPGA, the celebration of baseball, the Super Bowl, the Honda Classic, the Winter Equestrian Festival, all that tied into a kind of unique 2020 Super Bowl event calendar packaged by the Palm Beach County Sports Commission. I'm not blowing it, I'm just teasing it. But the bottom line is, $300, $400, $500 million of economic impact over a 2-week period in the region, that's pretty stout.
That is pretty amazing. Rick, we're only 100 days away from the 2020 Honda Classic. That's amazing. Time really does fly. We haven't talked a lot of Honda Classic in recent weeks, but just talk about the job Ken Kennerly and his staff do. And because, look, we have the 5K coming up February 1st. The events start long before the first tee shots hit on Thursday. But just talk about the Honda Classic. $5.1 million to charities, local charities last year, over 75,000 children's lives positively affected, a 13th straight year of record gains. So from your perspective, what does the Honda Classic, Ken Kennerly and his staff, do for the county of Palm Beach and also all of South Florida?
Ken who? No, come on. I can't. We can't do. No, we can't do that. Ken's amazing. And by the way, it's not just Ken Kennerly, the Honda Classic and event guru in town, but I've known him for a long time, and the support that he's given to the Gamebridge LPGA, which will start end of January this year. We've seen it at the Sports Commission. We've seen it at the show we've done. We've seen it on the boardroom show. He's working together as part of this announcement we're doing in mid-December. It's quite remarkable that the guy that runs this tournament understands that the Triple Crown of golf in South Florida, which really will start with Gamebridge and then the Honda, and then the new event that's part of the playoff system for the Champions Tour. But it's because Ken has done such a great job in stabilizing and growing the golf business, where this is now the largest event in Palm Beach County and generates a significant impact, as you said, for charity. And this year it's special because, again, we're rolling this brand into this Super Bowl festivity kind of thing, which puts everything on a higher level. So Gamebridge starts the cycle, then the Super Bowl, then kind of honoring spring training with the Nationals and Astros, then the Winter Equestrian Festival, the perfect week of sports, the Honda Classic. And I can't say enough about what Ken does in concert with George Lindley and the Palm Beach Sports Commission, a new group of people like Dan Towers, the guy from Gamebridge and LPGA, and good friend who's bringing the new event to Boca Rio, and on and on. So, look, sports partnerships are great. Economic development is great. When you have the ability to put this all together and the world's watching around Super Bowl 54, you have a hell of a combination.
Very well said, the sports professor, Rick Horrow. Now, Rick, the most important question of the day.
Stetson by 4.
No. I got Davidson. I got Davidson by 11, by the way. Because I do keep up with FCS just enough because I know some of the kids playing. But do the Dolphins go to the 3-game winning streak Sunday?
Wow. I think it's possible.
I do too.
I'm going to say Dolphins by 2. And I'm going to say at the end of this season, by the way, they're going to have a bunch of battle-tested, young, aggressive kids and a stockpile of draft picks, which at the end of the day is much better than going 0-16. I think everybody agrees. And this is something that nobody could have predicted. But the storyline, the narrative, is turning around. Plus, having Chris Greer and Steve Ross's leadership on this, and Tom Garfinkel, and, of course, Brian Flores, it's a great group of people to root for now. And, of course, you continue to root for Adam Gase going, 138, if that's possible.
That's the sports professor, Rick Horrow. Rick, enjoy your FCS football game and your drive back to Shangri-La here in Jupiter, and we'll talk to you again next week.
I'll get you a huge Stetson hat. Huge.
All right, bud. Have a good one.
All right. Later.
That's sports professor Rick Horrow. When we come back on Honda Classic Live, it's the 3 biggest headlines in the world of golf, which will be a special Honda Classic 2020 edition. We'll be right back on Honda Classic Live.